Have you ever felt that invisible barriers are blocking the blessings meant for your life, no matter how fervently you pray? There exists a simple yet profoundly powerful spiritual practice that Padre Pio, the beloved saint known for his stigmata and miraculous healings, shared with only his closest devotees. Today, this sacred knowledge will be revealed to you, a humble combination of holy water and a specific blessed plant that has opened the floodgates of divine intervention for thousands of believers worldwide. This isn't merely another prayer or ritual. It's an ancient spiritual practice rooted in the deepest traditions of faith, one that Padre Pio himself employed when confronting the most difficult spiritual battles. The wisdom I'm about to share has transformed countless lives, from healing seemingly incurable illnesses to resolving impossible financial situations, from restoring broken families to providing divine protection against spiritual attacks. Padre Pio understood that sometimes the most powerful spiritual tools are also the simplest, hiding in plain sight, like treasures waiting to be discovered by those with sincere hearts. He often said that God places extraordinary power in ordinary elements of creation, sanctifying them for our benefit when approached with genuine faith. The combination of holy water, blessed by the Church's prayers, and the sacred basil plant creates a powerful conduit for divine grace that few know about, but that many desperately need. Before revealing this precious secret that has changed the lives of thousands, you must understand something crucial about Padre Pio's teaching. He emphasized that external practices are always meant to nurture internal transformation. They are not magical formulas, but sacred channels through which God chooses to work when we approach them with sincere hearts and unwavering faith. The miraculous practice I'll share with you works not because of the elements themselves, but because they become instruments of divine intervention when used with genuine faith and pure intention. Are you ready to discover how something as simple as holy water combined with a specific plant can become a powerful catalyst for divine miracles in your home and life? The profound spiritual practice that Padre Pio revealed involves combining holy water with fresh basil, known across Christian tradition as the herb of saints, and believed to have grown near Christ's cross at Calvary. This isn't coincidental. Throughout sacred history, basil has been revered as a plant of exceptional spiritual significance, used in religious ceremonies dating back to the early Church. Padre Pio recognized its special place in God's creation and taught that when basil is combined with holy water and used with faithful intention, it creates a powerful spiritual remedy against negative forces while attracting divine blessings. The saint would often recommend this practice to those facing persistent spiritual obstacles, unexplainable difficulties, or seeking special protection for their homes and families. This blessed combination works on three spiritual principles that Padre Pio frequently taught. First, holy water itself carries the Church's blessing and the power to dispel darkness. It is a sacramental that, as Padre Pio often reminded the faithful, chases away the devil faster than anything else. Second, basil carries inherent spiritual properties recognized by saints across centuries. Its very name in Greek, basilikon, means royal, signifying its exalted place among plants. Third, when these elements are combined with sincere faith and prayer, they create a powerful synergy that invites God's intervention in previously blocked areas of your life. Padre Pio explained that sometimes material elements become vessels of spiritual power, just as the waters of baptism and the oil of anointing become channels of sacramental grace. What makes this practice particularly powerful is its simplicity, accessible to everyone, regardless of their circumstances or spiritual development. You don't need special training or elaborate rituals, only faith, holy water from your parish, and fresh basil, which can be grown even in a small pot on your windowsill. Padre Pio taught that God often hides the most powerful spiritual remedies in the simplest practices, making them available to all his children who seek help with sincere hearts. The saint would say, "The Lord does not look so much at the greatness of our actions, or even at their difficulty, as at the love with which we do them." This practice, though simple in execution, becomes extraordinarily powerful when performed with loving devotion and unwavering trust in God's goodness. To apply this powerful teaching from Padre Pio in your own home, begin by obtaining holy water from your local parish and a small fresh basil plant or several stems of fresh basil. Hold both in your hands and pray from your heart, asking God to bless your intention and to work through these elements according to His divine will for your life. Padre Pio taught that preparation is crucial. Your heart must be receptive through prayer, even if brief, but sincere. Then, gently dip a basil sprig into the holy water and, starting from your front door, trace the sign of the cross while praying. Through this blessed water and holy plant, Lord, protect this home and all who dwell within it. Through the intercession of Padre Pio, let your miracles abound here. Moving methodically through your home, use the basil sprig dipped in holy water to bless each room, paying special attention to windows, doors, and other entry points. These represent spiritual thresholds that Padre Pio taught should be specially protected. As you do this, maintain an attitude of prayer and faith, speaking aloud your specific intentions or silently carrying them in your heart. The saint emphasized that this practice isn't merely symbolic, but creates a real spiritual barrier against negative influences while establishing an environment where God's blessings can flourish. Remember his words: prayer is the best weapon we possess, the key that opens the heart of God. If you believe this teaching can transform your life as it has for countless devoted followers of Padre Pio, write in the comments, "I am ready for this blessing." Subscribe to our channel for more powerful spiritual wisdom that few share, but that can profoundly transform your spiritual journey. Padre Pio promised that consistent application of this practice, ideally repeated weekly or whenever you feel a special need for divine intervention, creates a cumulative spiritual effect, gradually transforming your home into a sanctuary of peace and divine favor. The saint observed that many who faithfully followed this practice reported remarkable changes within days or weeks. Problems that had persisted for years suddenly finding resolution, unexpected blessings appearing, and a tangible sense of peace pervading their homes. The spiritual power of this practice lies not just in its components, but in understanding the three pillars of its effectiveness, as taught by Padre Pio. The first pillar is protection. The combination of holy water and basil creates a spiritual shield against negative energies and harmful influences. Padre Pio explained that our homes often accumulate spiritual residue from conflicts, worries, and the everyday struggles of life, creating an environment where blessings struggle to take root. This blessed combination acts like a spiritual cleansing agent, neutralizing negative forces and restoring spiritual harmony to your living space. You might not see these forces with physical eyes, but their effects are often felt through persistent problems, unusual tensions, or a general sense of heaviness that this practice helps dispel. The second pillar is invitation. By blessing your home with holy water and basil, you're actively inviting divine presence and intervention into your circumstances. Padre Pio taught that God always respects our free will and often waits to be invited before manifesting his power in our lives. This ritual represents a formal spiritual invitation, opening doors that may have remained closed due to lack of proper spiritual alignment. It's like setting a place at your table for an honored guest. You're creating sacred space for divine operation in your home and affairs. Many of Padre Pio's followers reported that after this practice, they experienced an unmistakable sense of divine presence, as if their homes had become more permeable to heavenly influence. The third pillar is faith, which Padre Pio considered the essential activating force behind any spiritual practice. He often reminded his spiritual children that, without faith, our prayers are merely words. When you perform this ritual believing in its efficacy and trusting in God's desire to bless you, you activate a spiritual principle that Jesus himself taught. According to your faith, let it be done to you. Padre Pio explained that faith acts as a spiritual conductor, allowing divine power to flow through the elements of holy water and basil into your circumstances. This isn't about quantity of faith, but quality. Even faith as small as a mustard seed, when genuine and trusting, can move mountains of impossibility in your life and home. The remarkable testimonies from those who have applied this teaching of Padre Pio speak to its extraordinary power. Consider Maria from Naples, who had struggled with persistent family conflicts that seemed impervious to resolution. After faithfully applying the holy water and basil blessing throughout her home for 3 consecutive weeks, she witnessed a dramatic transformation in her family dynamics. Long-standing resentments began dissolving, communication improved, and a peaceful atmosphere gradually replaced the tension that had become their normal state. Padre Pio explained that blessed water combined with basil has a particular efficacy in healing relational wounds and restoring harmony, as it addresses not just symptoms, but the spiritual roots of disunity. Then there's the testimony of Giovanni, who faced a seemingly hopeless financial situation with mounting debts and no solution in sight. Desperate for divine intervention, he followed Padre Pio's teaching with exceptional devotion, blessing not only his home, but also his workplace with holy water and basil, while praying specifically for financial breakthrough. Within a month, a series of unexpected opportunities emerged that allowed him to resolve his financial crisis. Opportunities that seemed to appear from nowhere, but which Padre Pio would recognize as divine orchestration in response to faithful spiritual practice. The saint often taught that financial difficulties frequently have spiritual components that this blessing helps address, removing invisible blockages to prosperity. Perhaps most moving are the countless testimonies of physical healings associated with this practice. Padre Pio, himself known for miraculous healing gifts, taught that while holy water and basil are not replacements for medical care, they create a spiritual environment conducive to divine healing. Lucia, suffering from chronic pain that doctors couldn't fully diagnose or treat, began keeping a small container of holy water with fresh basil near her bedside, regularly blessing herself with it while praying for healing. Gradually, her pain diminished until it disappeared entirely. A medical mystery to her doctors, but perfectly aligned with what Padre Pio taught about how creating the right spiritual conditions can facilitate physical healing. These testimonies aren't isolated incidents, but represent thousands of similar experiences from those who have discovered and applied this simple yet powerful spiritual practice. Understanding the sacred history of this practice deepens our appreciation of its spiritual significance. Basil has been venerated in Christian tradition since the earliest days of the Church. Legend holds that it grew at the foot of Christ's cross, being watered by his precious blood, which explains its exceptional spiritual properties. Early Christians would place basil around sacred images and use it in blessing rituals long before Padre Pio formalized and taught this specific practice. Holy water, meanwhile, has been used since apostolic times as a powerful sacramental for blessing, protection, and spiritual purification. Padre Pio, with his profound spiritual insight, recognized the special synergy created when these two sacred elements are combined with faith, effectively reviving and teaching an ancient spiritual wisdom that many had forgotten. The timing of Padre Pio's emphasis on this practice is also significant. Living through some of modern history's darkest periods, including 2 world wars and tremendous social upheaval, he understood that people needed accessible spiritual tools to combat the increasing darkness of the modern world. He observed that as society became more materialistic and spiritually disconnected, homes became more vulnerable to negative influences, making this simple practice increasingly relevant and necessary. Padre Pio would often tell his spiritual children, "The times ahead will require greater spiritual protection than in past generations," foreseeing our current era where many feel overwhelmed by invisible forces working against their peace, health, and prosperity. What many don't realize is that Padre Pio recommended this practice with particular urgency for our current times. He prophetically understood that the spiritual challenges of our era would be unique and intense, requiring simple yet powerful remedies accessible to ordinary faithful. The combination of holy water and basil represents exactly such a remedy, deeply traditional yet perfectly suited for contemporary spiritual needs. In his wisdom, Padre Pio knew that as external religious observances might decline in society, intimate household practices would become essential fortresses of faith. This practice transforms your home into a spiritual sanctuary, a place where divine protection is active and where miracles can take root and flourish even in an increasingly chaotic world. The transformative power of this practice works through creating what Padre Pio called sacred microenvironments, spaces where divine grace can operate with particular freedom and potency. When you bless your home with holy water and basil, you're essentially altering its spiritual atmosphere, making it more receptive to positive divine influences, while becoming increasingly resistant to negative ones. This process doesn't happen instantly, but builds progressively with consistent application. Like watering a garden that becomes more beautiful and fruitful with regular care, Padre Pio taught that spiritual benefits often unfold in layers. First comes a subtle sense of peace, then clarity of mind and purpose, followed by more tangible manifestations of divine intervention in your circumstances. This blessing practice particularly excels at removing what Padre Pio identified as spiritual blockages, invisible barriers that prevent divine blessings from fully manifesting in your life. These blockages can result from various sources: past negative events that occurred in your home, harmful patterns established over time, or even spiritual attacks directed against your well-being. The holy water acts as a spiritual solvent breaking down these barriers, while the basil, with its God-given properties, helps establish new, positive spiritual patterns in their place. Many followers of this practice report sensing these blockages lifting, describing it as feeling lighter, clearer, or experiencing a newfound flow in areas of life that previously seemed stuck or resistant to change. For maximum effectiveness, Padre Pio recommended applying this practice with intentional awareness of its three dimensions: physical, mental, and spiritual. Physically, you're using tangible elements, water and plant, to affect your material environment. Mentally, you're focusing your intentions and prayers on specific desired outcomes. Spiritually, you're engaging with divine power through faith and invocation. This three-dimensional approach ensures that the practice works holistically, addressing all aspects of the challenges you face. The saint emphasized that this completeness is what distinguishes truly effective spiritual practices from superficial rituals. They engage the whole person and the whole environment in a comprehensive process of transformation that unfolds naturally but powerfully over time. To maximize the effectiveness of Padre Pio's teaching, there are specific methods of application worth noting. First, timing matters. The saint recommended performing this blessing ideally at dawn or dusk, traditional boundary times in spiritual practice, and particularly on Sundays or feast days when spiritual forces are naturally heightened. Second, preparation of the elements deserves attention. The holy water should be obtained from a church where regular masses are celebrated, and the basil should be as fresh as possible, ideally grown without chemical treatments. Third, your personal disposition greatly influences outcomes. Approaching this practice after prayer, and when possible, receiving the Eucharist creates optimal internal conditions for its efficacy. The basil itself should be treated with reverence, recognizing its sacred role in this spiritual practice. Padre Pio recommended growing it specifically for this purpose if possible, blessing the seeds or young plant, and dedicating it to this sacred use. When gathering sprigs for blessing your home, do so with prayer, and when the sprigs can no longer be used, dispose of them respectfully by burning them or placing them in blessed ground, rather than simply discarding them. This reverent handling of the elements reflects an understanding that they are not ordinary objects, but have been elevated to sacred purpose. The saint explained that such reverence isn't superstition, but recognition of how ordinary elements can become extraordinary channels of grace when dedicated to divine service. Consistency creates compounding spiritual benefits with this practice. Padre Pio advised that while even a single application carries power, regular use, weekly is ideal for most situations, creates lasting transformation in your home's spiritual environment. Think of it as spiritual maintenance that prevents negative accumulations from rebuilding while continuously strengthening positive spiritual qualities in your space. Many practitioners create a simple calendar reminder to ensure regularity, often choosing Sunday evenings as their dedicated time. The saint compared this consistency to the regular reception of sacraments. Each instance builds upon previous ones, creating a cumulative effect that eventually becomes powerful enough to overcome even the most persistent problems and attract increasingly profound blessings. The ultimate purpose of this practice, according to Padre Pio, extends beyond addressing immediate problems. It's about creating homes that serve as outposts of heaven on earth, places where divine presence is palpably felt and where God's blessings flow without hindrance. When faithfully applied over time, this simple blessing ritual gradually transforms your home into what the saint called a domestic sanctuary, a place that nourishes spiritual growth, facilitates answered prayers, and provides genuine refuge from worldly chaos. Many who have adopted this practice report that visitors often comment on the special atmosphere in their homes, sensing something different, without being able to identify precisely what it is they're experiencing. This transformation of your home inevitably leads to transformation of your life, as Padre Pio frequently observed among his spiritual children who embraced this teaching. When you live in an environment that has been consistently sanctified through holy water and basil blessing, you begin to experience changes in your thinking patterns, emotional responses, and spiritual sensitivity. Problems that once seemed overwhelming begin to find resolution, relationships improve, and opportunities aligned with your divine purpose begin to emerge with surprising frequency. The saint explained this as the natural consequence of living in harmony with divine order. When your immediate environment is brought into spiritual alignment, your life experiences naturally follow suit in a beautiful process of holistic restoration. The time to begin this transformative practice is not tomorrow or next week, but today, this very evening before you retire to sleep. Padre Pio consistently emphasized the power of immediate action in spiritual matters, knowing that delay often means defeat as initial inspiration fades. Gather your holy water and basil now, and take that first step toward transforming your home and life through this ancient spiritual wisdom. The saint promised that those who apply this teaching with sincerity will never regret it, but will find themselves looking back with profound gratitude at the simple decision that initiated cascading positive changes in their lives. Start tonight, with whatever holy water and basil you can obtain, and trust that as you take this step of faith, divine power stands ready to meet your sincere effort with miraculous response. Remember always Padre Pio's encouraging words. Pray, hope, and don't worry. Worry is useless. God is merciful and will hear your prayer.